Hey there, and welcome. You know that feeling when you're just tired all the time, and you kind of just chalk it up to a busy life? Well, this one's for you. We're going to dive deep into anemia, what it really is, what's going on in your blood, and why it's a whole lot more than just feeling wiped out. So, let me ask you something. Does any of this sound familiar? That feeling of being tired deep in your bones, no matter how much you sleep? Or, that head rush when you stand up a little too quick? Maybe a friend even says, hey, you're looking a little pale. It's so easy to just ignore that stuff, right? But what if they're actually really important clues? And look, I get it. It's tempting to just blame it all on a crazy schedule. But what if your body is trying to tell you something? Something really specific, a message that's literally written in your blood. Okay, so let's zoom in, way in. To really get what's going wrong, we've got to first understand how things are supposed to be working inside your bloodstream. So at its most basic level, anemia is really a numbers problem. Your body just doesn't have enough healthy red blood cells. Or more to the point, it's about what's in those cells, a protein called hemoglobin. The easiest way to think about it, hemoglobin is like the fleet of tiny little delivery trucks that carry oxygen to every single part of your body. And here's what's so interesting. This isn't just some vague feeling of being off. Doctors have really specific numbers, these exact thresholds. You'll see the numbers are different for men and women, and that's mostly because of things like body mass and hormones. But the bottom line is, if your count drops below these numbers, it's a clear signal that your body's oxygen supply chain is in trouble. So why should you care about these numbers? Well, because when your oxygen delivery service isn't working right, it affects, everything. That's where the dizziness and the pale skin come from. Your heart has to start working way harder to pump what little oxygenated blood you have around, and that can cause that fluttering, palpitating feeling. And if it goes on for too long, that extra strain can get really serious. We're talking an enlarged heart or even heart failure. Okay, this brings us to what I think is the most important part of this whole discussion. Anemia itself isn't really the disease. Think of it more like a warning light on your car's dashboard. It's a signal that something else is wrong. And to fix it, you have to be a bit of a detective and figure out the real root cause. Turns out, there are usually four main suspects. Let's stick with an analogy here. Imagine your body's system for making blood is a super advanced factory. Anemia is what happens when there's a problem on the assembly line. It could be one of a few things. Maybe you're running out of the raw materials you need, or maybe the finished products are getting lost or destroyed too quickly. Or, and this is the serious one, the factory itself could be breaking down. First up, a supply chain issue. This is by far the most common reason. Your bone marrow factory needs specific raw materials to do its job. Iron is absolutely critical for building those hemoglobin oxygen trucks we mentioned earlier. And then you have vitamin B12 and folate. They're essential for making sure the cells are built correctly. If you don't have enough of these, the whole production line just slows way down. The second cause is a lot more straightforward. You're losing blood somewhere. It might be a slow, sneaky leak, like from a stomach ulcer you don't even know you have, or it could be a sudden, massive loss from an accident. Either way, your factory is working, but it just can't keep up with how fast the red blood cells are leaving the system. All right, cause number 3 is a quality control problem. Basically, the products coming off the assembly line are faulty. A healthy red blood cell should last about 120 days. It's built for the long haul. But with some conditions like hemolytic anemia, your own body starts attacking and destroying them way too early. Or with genetic issues like thalassemia, the cells are just born with a shorter lifespan. The factory's pumping them out, but they just don't last. And that brings us to the fourth and most serious cause. The factory itself is broken. This is what happens in aplastic anemia. The bone marrow, the production center, gets damaged, and its ability to make all kinds of blood cells gets crippled. We're talking red cells, white cells, platelets, everything. This can be triggered by things like certain medications, radiation, or other illnesses. So think about it. We've got 4 totally different root causes here. So how in the world are you supposed to know which one is affecting you? This is exactly why self-diagnosing is such a bad idea. Guessing is dangerous. Getting the right diagnosis is absolutely everything. And this is a perfect example of that danger. A hematologist, Dr. Wang Hengjun, put it perfectly. He said that so many people just assume they need to take more iron. But if you do that without getting a proper blood test, you might be completely missing a much more serious problem that's causing the anemia in the first place. So what exactly are doctors looking at in that blood test? Well, they're looking at 3 key numbers that tell the whole story. You've got your red blood cell count, that's like the total number of workers on the job. Then there's the hemoglobin value, which tells you how much oxygen-carrying equipment each worker has. And finally, hematocrit, which is the percentage of your blood that's actually made up of these workers. When you put these 3 numbers together, they don't just tell you if you have anemia, they give you big clues as to why. And once you know the why, you can finally figure out the how to treat it. And as we're about to see, this is where getting that diagnosis right becomes so critical. Because this is definitely not a one-size-fits-all solution. Just look at how different the care strategies are. If you have simple iron deficiency, the advice is pretty clear. Eat more iron-rich foods, take a supplement. But, and this is huge, if you have something like thalassemia, you're told to do the exact opposite and avoid extra iron because your body already has trouble getting rid of it. And for something like aplastic anemia, it's not about diet so much as it is about protecting your bone marrow and avoiding infections. It just proves the point. The treatment has to match the cause, or it won't work and could even be harmful. So are there certain people who should be a little more on the lookout for these signs? For sure. If you're a vegetarian, for example, getting enough B12 can be a challenge. If your diet is mostly processed fast food, you might actually be blocking your body from absorbing the iron you do get. And folks with other health issues like kidney disease or thyroid problems also have a higher risk, since those conditions can mess with your body's blood-making factory. So here's the big takeaway. That tired feeling you might be brushing off, it could actually be a really complex story that your blood is trying to tell you. Your health really does start with understanding these signals. So the only question left is, are you listening to what your body is telling you?